Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar. You're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression, because I am very high.
Ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash.
Yeah. Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you. That
to the Libertarian Podcast Review. This is Tyler Yonke. Is it a dark day? It's a Monday, and there's some crazy shit going on out there. If you haven't checked out my show before, please do. We're going to do a Kill Tony knockoff. Once again, part 2. Andy and I are going to do that coming up this Thursday. So if you have anything you want to say, maybe it's about this show, maybe it's about this episode, just come in. We give you a minute. You're going to talk, and then we're going to interview you and talk to you and get to know you. And so sign up. Send me a DM on Tyler Yonke Twitter. There you go. Okay, so what are we going to talk to you all about today? Well, Joe Jorgensen, president candidate for the Libertarian Party in 96. She was just recently in 2000 as well. She came up on Patrick Bet-David's podcast. It's a pretty big deal podcast. I've seen it before. I think he's had Malice and a few other people on there. So I started watching it, and I heard she had said some things about Dave Smith. So I decided to watch it. And as I'm listening to it, I thought, hey, I have a podcast review show. I'm going to just do a review on this thing. We're going to hash this thing out and play some clips. And as I start the show, in the beginning, I'm frustrated. But I'm not frustrated at her. I'm actually frustrated with PBD. We'll just call him Patrick. I'm actually frustrated with Patrick, and I'm like, some of his questions, he's not getting it. And I thought Joe was actually responding quite well, and I was getting frustrated with him. I even was out in the yard doing work as I was listening to this, and my son was getting ready to mow the lawn, and I'm like, and I'm yelling. He's like, what? And I'm like, oh, actually, I'm talking about the podcast here. But then it came upon a thing that Patrick said to her, which started to put it in perspective. We'll get there, because I'm going to play a few clips from her and on the podcast, and then I'm going to get to the seminal one with Dave Smith. Okay, and I'm going to play Dave Smith thing in context here. So you may have to skip to it if you just want to see that in context. Fine, do it. But I think these are important setups, and I'm not going to play a whole breakdown of her podcast, but I am going to play a few items first up. Okay, so the first one is just kind of, and this is maybe it's the frustration of how she handled this. And so I'm putting this confused Joe because I wanted to give her some semblance of an out on this. But then even the more I see it, and I'm going to compare and contrast the two there as far as what she said, Dave said, and then what Dave actually said. And the meaning is very specific and very different. And coming from someone who's, once again, 2-time Libertarian Party candidate for the president, or she was, I think, vice president before with Harry Browne. Okay, so let's get to the first one. I'm going to add it to the stream here. Patrick Bet-David, if you haven't seen him, he's big into crypto. He's kind of libertarian leaning. I think he's probably more Republican. I think he's a guy from Israel. Interesting stuff. Okay, so this one is the first one up here. I'm just talking about agreeing or disagreeing, and play it away, Tyler.
I can't logically. I should have never, if I think about myself at a certain age,
they're talking about open borders.
You should have never hired me because I was not qualified to be hired. So we should let anybody through the border. Okay, so let me go.
We can agree to disagree and get to a more interesting topic.
Yeah, well, this is a very interesting topic, and by the way, a lot of people are worried about this specific topic.
Except I don't think we're going to get anywhere on
it. But what I do think a lot of people are here saying, there is an answer to that. I want to know what the position is for the Libertarian Party on how they manage that. But you didn't just get 10,000 votes. You didn't get 20,000 votes. You got 1.8. So the way you got 1.8, I'm trying to think, did you guys get 1.8 because there's 1.8 million libertarians in America? Is it just talking to the base of people that agree with you, or you don't talk to people that maybe challenge the position and break it down where the others can make up their mind and say, well, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense? Because that also gets your argument to be stronger to say, well, listen, I just sat down with this guy. He asked that question. I don't have an answer for it. Guys, we got to be ready because someone's going to ask me this question under the election. We got to watch this clip. Here's how I answered it. You should have said this. This is the position. Got it. Let's role play. So that's how I would train my candidate if I'm their campaign manager. But let's go through another topic.
I have 2 questions on
Okay, and so I'm just going to blow off on there because this happened a few times, okay, and situations where she's like, well, just agree to disagree, which is fine. I guess you're not going to make any waves on it, but there was a problem in the persuasion aspect of it. And for me, he was somewhat frustrating to me early on, but then I started to see with this exchange where he was actually going with that. And so we're going to actually play, hopefully here, if we share the screen, play his next one, which kind of plays into it just a little bit more. This is Joe Jorgensen, toughest debate interview. So this is where he comes in at her. And by the way, if they have a pop-up with an ad, I'm just going to have to hold it and go through. So here we go. He asked her some other questions about some of her toughest debate issues because he wasn't feeling that she was giving. And I think this plays into the concept that he was just kind of doing there about interviewing and stuff.
Joe, just out of curiosity, who have you debated? Who's been your toughest debate ever?
I mean, I didn't feel that any of my debates were tough. Yeah.
Who have you debated?
In 1996, I was in the third party debate when I debated the Green Party, Constitution Party, and those. In March, before the nomination, I was also in a third party debate where I sat next to the Green Party.
She referenced something about 25 years ago. Okay.
And a few other people. And then, of course, the debates within the Libertarian Party.
But when's the last time you had a really tough debate against a non-libertarian? When is the last time you had
it was pretty easy debating the Green Party candidate, that's for sure. So.
Doubt it.
Yeah, let me continue. When is the last time you had a debate with a non-libertarian or non-Green Party? When's the last time you had a debate with somebody that was non-libertarian, non-Green?
Well, an official debate, like I said, it would be in the nomination process in 2020, 2019, 20.
Who'd you debate?
Well, as I said, the Green Party, I don't remember who all was on the stage. Some of them are parties I'd never heard of, but I have heard of the Green Party. And then in 2020, it was within the party.
So you've never debated anybody that's opposing Libertarian or Green Party?
Well, I mean, again,
like if I
Constitution Party.
Well, I want to Google it right now. I'm on YouTube
Sure.
right now. If I type in Joe Jorgensen debate,
Oh, snap.
what would you say is the debate that you had that was either a Democrat or Republican or an independent?
Oh, there was a Democrat or two in the debate in Chicago in March. Yeah, I guess it would have been March 2020.
Who were they when you debated them?
I don't remember their names.
Was it a stage debate? Was it public? Was there
Oh yeah,
people
it was in Chicago.
And what was the format? What was the format of the debate?
We would go down the line and answer questions and get
That's
to
not a
respond to
debate,
each
though.
other.
But that's not a debate, though. So you've never really.
Well, I mean, it's not like the Lincoln Douglas debates. It wasn't.
Whew.
But,
are you planning on running in 2023, 2024?
I don't know.
Okay, so let's just say you
no.
are. Who is your like who behind closed doors are they sitting there and like going back and forth? They ask this, you say this. If they say this, you say this. Like who does that with you guys back and forth debating? Do you guys practice a lot of that?
Well, since I was in no debates after the nomination, we didn't do it. We were invited to the third party debate. However, we were on the ballot in all 50 states. And so I did not want to debate the other parties because that would get us into comparison with them as opposed to the Democrats and Republicans. If I debated the Green Party, then for the next 4 weeks, I'd have reporters asking me to compare, what about this on the debate stage? And now compare this. And the Libertarian Party is the only party other than the Democrats and Republicans to be on the ballot in all 50 states. I'm not going to debate the Green Party or Kanye West, who's on 16 states.
It actually probably would get you more eyeballs if you debated Kanye
Right.
West. I think that actually would be a good debate.
That actually might not be a bad idea.
But going back to it, so debating, so who's been your toughest interview? Who has interviewed the toughest and pushed you where you got up saying, "What a son of a bitch"?
In the past?
Yes. Toughest interview ever, where you couldn't wait to finish the interview.
This one?
That would have been in 1996 when I was running for VP, and I interviewed somebody in Ohio, but I don't remember the guy's name.
It's a long time ago.
It is.
It's a long time ago. That's like saying you want to be a heavyweight champion today, but the last time you fought a heavyweight was 26 years ago. You know how tough that is?
Well, no, you didn't ask when's the last time I fought a heavyweight. That was the last
Wait
time
for it.
because I wasn't as prepared in 1996.
So who's the
It
last
was
heavyweight
easier.
you fought? Who's your last heavyweight?
Oh, no.
Oh, like who interviewed me?
Yeah, who's the toughest interview you've had recently?
Well, but again, I wouldn't call it tough. But you know, the Washington Post. I mean, I got interviewed by several media people, but I didn't consider them tough.
Yeah. So okay. So for me, the reason why I asked that question is because I've sat with other libertarians, and for somebody who politically was on a different side, and I sit down and like, let me hear the libertarian argument, and you know, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? That's a good point. You got me thinking. Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? Never thought about it. I never looked at drugs that way. I never looked at prostitution that way before. I never looked at, you know, stealing that way before. Interesting. Okay, cool. It made me think, right? And I don't feel I asked.
Well, so the meth house didn't make you think?
I'm sorry, I have to just dump it there. So, and by the way, I think this is really important for what's coming up. I don't know if it gives you an excuse, but it may be, maybe it's time we just move on. Okay. And I mean, there are YouTubers out there, Spike Cohen, even himself, who ran with her, who are debating people more than she is, and so kind of he had Malice on there at one point, Michael Malice, and Michael Malice is talking to him about anarchy. This is a philosophy of, you know, something that's never going to happen, sadly. And Michael Malice was able to get him to like, oh, that makes, like he just said, that makes sense. I've never thought of it that way. And you're working things into something. Yet she's talking about real world situations, and she could not do much persuade. Matter of fact, it's agree to disagree, which I think was a bad method as well. Okay, I'm playing these for specific reasons and just some of the debates. I think I'm actually going to skip. She said there was a thing about what. No, we're going to play it. We're just going to go through here. If you want to skip right to the Dave Smith part, it's going to be near the end. And maybe I'll put a link when I actually share this up for what that timestamp is. But for right now, I don't know what it is. Okay, this one is, he asked her about Trump, what Trump did right, and here we go.
What did you like what Trump did? Did Trump do anything right?
Yes, he did reduce some regulations.
Actually, I want to step back just real quickly about the being pushed on all kinds of aspects. You know, I remember this. Martha Bueno, she libertarian down in Florida, and she said she was going to leave the party, or she was all worked up because some tangential people from the, I don't know, well, they weren't in the Mises Caucus, but libertarians were giving her a hard time, and she was like, I'm out of here. And I made the comment at the time, I'm like, if that's going to persuade you to be out of the party and to give up on some of these things, wait till you get the Democrats and the Republicans coming after you and saying you wanted to kill their kids and the crazy shit that they say all the time. So you've got to be battle hardened. And I think, you know, if we're going to compare it to Dave Smith, he goes in that dungeon all the time. Okay, let's go back to Patrick and Joe.
Reducing regulations, reducing taxes. Now, of course, you know, the debt and the...
Organize your business your way.
Okay, so we'll have to get past. This is the problem you do when you're playing off of YouTube, and we will skip that. Here we go.
We're getting into Obama territory, but yeah.
Deficit.
Oh, and I did like his pick for the Supreme Court.
Which one? Which one?
Amy
Gorsuch?
Amy?
Yeah. Yeah. I like
Gorsuch.
I would have 100 times picked her over our most recent.
And that just, I was like, that's when I was another frustrating point. I'm like, as a libertarian, that's the one you're going for, but whatever. Let's go through this, because actually this next one is important. And if you're going to just at all, if you're going to at all just check in for the Dave Smith comments, and this one is the setup, because this is Dave Smith's best defense of himself, okay, in his situation, and what she tries to call him out on here. Okay,
what are the brand tenets or the two core flags that are easy to remember and easy to articulate that the Libertarian party's trying to put out there, because there seems to be a lot of confusion about what your stances really are, which goes to you need to be better at projecting the message. So what are those little things that you would have people remember? Oh yeah, well listen, if you want to be about big business and low taxes, conservative value, that's Republicans. You want to be about the little guy and gay marriage and minorities, that's Democrats. We are this.
Individual liberty and personal responsibility.
Which means what?
If you that you are allowed to make your own choices. So you have the individual liberty to send your kids to the school you want, get the kind of health care you want, get the kind of retirement you want. But on the other hand, you've got the responsibility that you are responsible for your choices.
Like getting drunk. Okay. And I thought that was an important part to just play there, and for two reasons. One is when he says, what are like two easy tenets to come up with, you're like, campaign mode, this is great. And then you say him and he goes, which means what? Maybe that's not the two you need to go with. Maybe just go with the Matt Kibbe, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. I don't know. Okay, so here is the money shot that you've been waiting for. And we're going to play this one, and then we're going to play Dave's part, his comments that she's actually referring to in full. I'm going to give you in full context, and then we're going to come back and play this side by side again, because there's and I'm not going to argue Dave's position. I can, but I'm not going to argue it. I'm just going to say why this is such an egregious call out on her side. Okay, let's go here.
By the way, I'd have to get a caller in. Two things before we wrap up. Do you have an opinion on Dave Smith?
Well, yes.
Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? What's your perspective on him? Because he's getting a lot of younger people to pay attention to him.
Yeah. It's, I mean, like everything else, some good, some bad.
How different are you and him? What differences do you guys have?
Philosophically, not much.
Okay.
I mean, well, actually, I don't want to say that. I mean, no, let me take that back. When it comes to like healthcare, no difference, I'm sure. Although I haven't heard him speak directly to healthcare.
No, he never has.
Education, probably not much choice, or not much difference. But there are some.
By the way, he's talked about healthcare a lot, partly because when his first child was born, and he just had a show with a guy that has a whole system about out of network type of thing where you can not, be involved in the government insurance thing. His son had a whole, anyway, it just means she doesn't pay attention, and which is perfectly fine. She doesn't have to. Just thought I'd point that out.
There are many things that he has said that I'm 100% against. So,
such as
if you're a man and you want sex and you can't get it by persuasion, then you can give a woman 12 drinks and it's okay. I don't think that's okay.
That's what he said.
Look at the reaction.
That's what he said, that you can give a woman 12 drinks.
He said if he gives
that's a strategy,
a woman,
specifically
right,
12.
Right, that's
interesting
right.
Strategy.
Was that an
strategy?
Yeah. Was that an offhand comment in an interview? How did he present what you?
No one's believing her.
So it was reported to me that he said it on his podcast, and then when people protested, he posted it and put it in writing. And also, I disagree. Yeah, let's just say that's one of several. That's
interesting.
Right.
So I'm gonna try to back up just a little bit, and we're gonna get the specifics here to what she's saying here. Okay, let's see if we can get it.
Not much.
Okay.
I mean, well, actually, I don't want to say that. I mean, no, let me take that back. When it comes to like healthcare, no difference, I'm sure. Although I haven't heard him speak directly to healthcare. Education, probably not much choice, or much.
Okay, actually, before I do that, I think I'm going to actually play Dave's, and then we'll go back to and play hers here. But she had a shot there. She said, not much we disagree with. And then I think something went in her mind where she's like, this is my chance to take this shot at Dave, which people are doing all the time. No problems. But she made a conscious decision. You can just see it right there. I've done that in court many times myself, where am I going to play this strategy that maybe I do or don't? And then suddenly you've either in your mind decide that you're going to, or you withhold that. She decided she was going to. For whatever reason, this is a game that she wanted to play there. So that's where she is. Okay. So just to kind of recap her thing, what she said is, if you can't get sex by persuasion, okay, going out on a date, that then you can give them 12 drinks and that is okay. That is specific of persuasion's not working. It's not working. Now I'm going to drug them with alcohol and then go and have sex where they would have agreed to it before. Okay, that's a little bit different than what we're going to play here. Dave Smith, I think this was 2017. This is actually from the Gas Digital, and let's see if we can find it here. Gas Digital Archives. Hope they don't take me down for showing this one, but it's just the way it is. He's doing an AMA and Ask Me Anything. You can even see there, cultural appropriation, drunk sex, Somalia, and more. Yeah, so drunk sex was one of them. Let's take it away, Dave Smith.
All right. Stephen Joseph writes, drunk sexual consent. I think that's a very interesting topic.
First of all, it's very important. The question is drunk consensual sex. Okay. It's not drugging someone with alcohol. And by the way, I'm not going to argue whether his point is valid or not. I'm just saying the question posed is drunk consensual sex. Drunk, consent, and sex. Okay. Consent is in there. Okay. It's not that you couldn't get him and then we're going here. And I know people are going to try to massage that. Well, but you don't know what came before. In his situation is two people getting drunk. It doesn't say that she denied this guy earlier before. That's what Joe is stating. She's putting different facts in there. And they're important because one is clearly date rape and the other one is drunk consensual sex. Now here we go.
I gotta say, one of the things that we as libertarians, I think, are more interested in than pretty much anyone else is, and it's not just in the issue of rape, right? I mean, we're interested in this in like every single issue, and no one else seems to be, but we're very interested in right where the line of consent is and where voluntarism is and where force is, right? Like that's the whole thing for libertarians. So even for like a consequentialist libertarian, like more like what you were saying, Rob, even if you're just a guy who's like markets are more effective, you realize what's effective about them is the aspect of voluntarism, cooperation, competition, like all those things. You're objecting to the monopolistic qualities of the state, which are, you know, in itself, that's the idea that they're forced on you. So it's any libertarian, this is the issue. And there are gray areas, right? There are certainly gray areas all the time. Like you can think of gray libertarian areas very easily, right? So like if let's say Rob has let's say I have a yard and a teenager's walking by the sidewalk and he trips and falls onto my yard and I have a no trespassing sign, right? Is like, can I like prosecute that guy? If we like brought that guy to a libertarian court, I would very much imagine that probably any reasonable judge and libertarian jury or whatever would, in any type of free society, would be like, yeah, this kid's going to get like a warning. We're not prosecuting this kid for trespassing. And if somebody had, like come to break into your property, they would probably treat that differently. Now, technically, in a libertarian sense, he did the same thing, right? He crossed your property line, but we would treat it differently. Anyway, the point I'm making is just that we focus on these issues all the time. So when you throw something like drunk sexual consent, it's like these left-wing people are all of a sudden thinking about consent for the first time ever, and they're fucking amateurs at it. Well, let me tell you something. Drunk sexual consent isn't even a difficult gray area. No, that ain't rape. If you consent, it's not rape. I'm sorry. That's what rape is. And it's an insult to any rape victim to say that someone who consented to sex, that an adult who consented to sex went through the same thing they did. No, I'm sorry. If you take 10 shots and then go get in a car and murder someone, you murdered that person. You can't sit there and just go like, I was drunk, so I didn't get in the car and I didn't blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Now, look, you can discuss the nuance of the morality of somebody being like, of you going out and getting a girl fucking hammered who wouldn't have sex with you normally, then getting her hammered and having sex with her when she's 12 shots in. But I don't know, man. If you're 12 shots in and you're stumbling home and you're like, yeah, come here, fuck me, cry me a fucking river. You didn't get raped. You didn't get raped. I'm sorry. You gave consent, and that might be something you regret. Look, if you voluntarily took the drinks and then you made that decision voluntarily, that's life. Sorry. I just don't know. I can't even work up that much sympathy for you, to be honest. I mean, it sucks. But who hasn't had? Believe me, almost everyone I know has a story that difficult or more in their past. Like, if that's the worst of your fucking, story, I'll never forget this one time. I say I never forget, but I am blown.
Okay, we're not going to go much further on that. But so I just plain, and I think he was very specific about voluntarily taking drinks. It's his situation is two people out at a bar, and it's a regret after the fact. You got a little too drunk. People like in there, hey, what if you had a daughter? How would you feel about this? And I'm like, I do. I have two daughters. Okay, one's in college, one's in high school. I have a teenage son in high school. I have an adult son in college. They've been warned and talked to about this exact situation many, many times. Okay. They don't get themselves in that position. And you're like, oh, Tyler, no, they don't get themselves in that position because I've had that conversation with them and they know to be wary of that. Now, if it's a date rape, that's completely different, something out of their control. But you have to teach people responsibility. And let's talk about the responsibility, which was what Joe originally said. She said, I believe it was personal liberty and personal responsibility. You have the right to make all of these decisions on your own, but you also have the responsibility that comes with it. And then you have her saying this about what they said.
Not much difference, but there are many things that he has said that I'm 100% against. So,
such as
if you're a man and you want sex and you can't get it by persuasion, then you can give a woman 12 drinks and it's okay. I don't think that's okay.
That's what he said.
Sorry.
That's what he said, that you can give a woman 12 drinks.
He said if he gives
that's a strategy,
a woman,
specifically
right,
12.
Right, that's
interesting
right.
strategy.
Was that an
strategy?
Yeah. Was that an offhand comment in an interview? How did he present what you heard and you just repeated?
So it was reported to me that he said it on his podcast, and then when people protested, he posted it and put it in writing.
Okay, we're done with that with her. So you can see the contrast there. She says if you can't get sex by persuasion, that you can drug them with alcohol and do it. And I'm like, once again, sorry about that. Once again, I'm not arguing Dave's merits. I tend to agree more with Dave because I'm big on personal responsibility and I'm big on people understanding the concept. If you're drinking too much and you're drunk driving, like he pointed out, I have big problems with that. One of the places I used to work at, Fridays always, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to get hammered and party. Okay, then those you plan to do those things, you're going to have consequences. Now there are of course situations that with daughters and such, but that once again, she's talking about intentional date rape, saying that Dave's fine with it, and Dave's talking about a different situation. And I think it's new, perhaps nuanced, but the distinction should not be. I mean, this is unbelievable that she went and did this. So then my tweet was, and I guess we can maybe share this because I decided not to say anything about it prior to, but I think it's just it's basically too late for that. I put in a tweet here. I've tweeted a bunch of shit. I think this is the most disgusting thing I've encountered from Joe. And I've sat at a table next to hers and endured her devouring her lunch. And then I said it was obvious the host didn't believe what she claimed about Dave Smith. I wasn't going to say anything about a lunch. I mean, I went to the Long Beach convention, had to go to a lunch thing, kind of sat up too close, sat right. I mean, I was within 5 feet of her. It was an hour-long thing, and she went crazy on her food for an hour. It was amazing to see. Hey, Tyler, why are you doing this? I'm sorry. When you're basically calling someone out saying that they're advocating date rape when that's obviously not what it is, and you didn't take the time to even look at it before you go on a big podcast, I'm going to take the time to do that myself. So anyway, that's it. This is the show, Libertarian Podcast Review. You like it? You don't? I don't know. Give me some feedback on this. But that was basically Dave's comments. That was kind of Joe's thing. I would like to maybe do more on the interview. I started out wanting to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, I was very frustrated with Patrick David's kind of some of the questions. One of them was, you're the reason Biden's president. I thought it was a thing about an election fraud, but no, he was saying that she stole things, and I thought she had a lot of good comments. I mean, things that I'm thinking of, she's coming back with them, but there was just something about the persuasion, and then you come into this final thing, and this is where you're at. So, I hope Dave gets a chance to go on the show himself and maybe set some things right. Who knows? Anyway, thanks, everyone. This is Tyler Yonke, Libertarian Podcast Review. Okay, light me up. Let's have it.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Well, did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast. I can't find it anywhere. They don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke. Yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me,
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert. He's a winger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than a 49-year-old winger. I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But anyways,
boomer.